do you want to conduct this meeting and as chairman? Like,
Yeah, but I'll let you do all the detailed stuff where you got it right there.
okay, I'll go ahead and conduct then, but we'll recognize you as chair. So we'll go ahead and begin our road and bridge meeting. As you can see, we've got our chairman, Roger Christensen, online. We also have a Vince Motes online for an issue soon that we'll be taking up here in just a minute. We have, of course, our planning and zoning administrator and assistant administrator, as well as our public works director and assistant, and some guests in the room. So we'll go ahead and begin with the finding of facts. So I'll turn the time over to either you, Austin, or Michelle Hagan to go ahead and present those.
The first one is, this matter comes before the Bonneville County Commissioners as a request to amend the ordinance on 2 parcels of land from A1 to RA1. The request is being made by Ellsworth and Associates on behalf of Jared McCord, Isla Darlene Williams, and Isla B. Williams, the property owners. Property is located at 9928 and 9902 North 27th East, south of 105th North, west of US Highway 20, and north of 97th North. Planning and Zoning heard this matter on May 25th, 2022, and recommended approval of the rezone request on a unanimous vote. A subsequent hearing was held by the County Commissioners on September 8th, 2022. After having reviewed the testimony of the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan, reference information submitted, they've made the following findings. I'm going to move through this. 3, that the parcels are in the area of impact with Bonneville County and the City of Yukon. 5, that the parcels are currently being used with the adjacent residential platted lots and are limited for agricultural uses because of the limited size of 0.121 acres and location. 6, the parcels were historically part of an abandoned canal by the adjacent landowner, which deeded subsidized A1 zoned parcels to the adjacent residential lot owners. The lots do not conform to the A1 zoning district area or size requirements. The properties are adjacent to land that is zoned A1 and RA1. That the adjacent RA1 zoned property was conditioned to require a minimum lot width of 100 feet in the RA1 zone. 11, that the owner has proposed a use which requires the properties be zoned RA1 and be combined with the adjacent existing developed residential lots, which range in area between 0.3 acre and 0.5 acres or greater, thus eliminating the non-conforming parcels. Conclusions. The board's opinion that it is appropriate that the area be conditioned with the same minimum 100-foot lot width to be consistent with the adjacent Miller Country subdivision. And then moving to F, the comprehensive plan of Bonneville County requires that we are to protect the general health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. It has been determined by this board that the proposed use could affect the local residents unless appropriate steps are taken to mitigate any potential adverse effects, present or future. The approval of this amendment will be conditioned upon the following facts. 1, the developer must submit and have approved a subdivision plat prior to issuance of building permits for construction to combine the additional area with the existing lots, which are in the same ownership. 2, The rezone is also subject to continuing the adjacent 100-foot lot width minimum requirement. And then decision, based upon the above facts, it is the decision of the Bonneville County Commissioners that the request for amendment from A1 to RA1 be approved, provided that the limitations and restrictions as listed above are complied with. Any questions or comments? I didn't read through it all.
Yeah, I was kind of hitting them all as you went through, and I looked at it earlier. You got
No.
I've reviewed them and I have no changes to recommend.
I wasn't sure. I
Okay.
apologize for that.
So I would make a motion that we approve them as written.
Okay,
And I will second it.
okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
That's the,
that's that one. And then this is the original. Should we, you want us to stamp for you, Roger?
Yes, please.
Okay. This one is the one you want to sign.
Yeah, then the court and then.
Thank you.
The next one,
Give us just a minute. We'll
Okay.
finish these signatures.
so if you,
Okay, go ahead.
thank you. This matter comes before the Bonneville County Commissioners as a request to amend the zoning ordinance on a parcel of land from RA1 to I and M1. So the request is being made by Kevin and Sandra Ward, property owners, the current property owners, and it was previously owned by TFES 1003 LLC. The property is located at 2654 North 25th East, south of Iona Road, west of 26 North and north of Lincoln Road. The Planning and Zoning Board heard this matter on June 22nd, 2022, and recommended approval with one opposed of the rezone request, with an amendment to include comments by Public Works and Planning staff. A subsequent hearing was held by the County Commissioners on September 8th, 2022. We make the following findings. 1, the property is shown RA1 on the county zoning map. 2, that the property is triangular in shape and is currently designated as an industrial area on the comprehensive plan. The adjacent lands on 3 sides of the parcel are designated as industrial. The area on the west of 25th East Hit Road has a commercial designation. 4, that the property is not within a defined area of impact of any city. 5, that the parcel is currently developed with a single-family dwelling and is being used as a residential lot that is 2.113 acres. The surrounding uses are developed and/or developing commercial or industrial uses. There is some remaining residential use in the area which could be impacted by an industrial use. Number 8, that the adjacent I&M1 zoned property identified as Gordon Egan rezone in 2012 was conditioned to disallow asphalt batch plants from locating on that tract. 9, that the owner has proposed various uses which would require the property be zoned I&M1. Skipping to conclusions, I was just gonna go down to the conditions, if that's okay.
Okay.
E. The comprehensive plan of Bonneville County requires that we are to protect the general health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. It has been determined by this board that the proposed use could affect the nearby uses unless appropriate steps are taken to mitigate any potential adverse effects, present or future. The amendment will be conditioned upon the following facts. 1, that all on-site lighting be designed so that no direct light will be visible off the property. 2, that the development be designed so that buffering system be incorporated to limit the impact of noise off-site, provide a visual buffer for the area uses as well as an adjacent road system. 3, that the parcel is in a subdivision. If the developer elects to further divide the property, they will file and get an approved subdivision plat for the site and provide an appropriate on-site landscaping plan that will blend into the area. 4, that 25th East is an arterial road, and arterial road improvements, including curb, gutter, and sidewalk, will be required, or at least an agreement in place to pay the frontage cost of the improvements at the time of the roadway being approved. 5, that the street lighting will be provided. 6, that adequate paving will be installed to meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. 7, that the Falls Water Community System be extended to provide the commercial potable water uses when the development of the property converts to an industrial or commercial use. 8, that fire hydrants be installed to meet firefighting needs. 9, that the sewer plan be submitted that will meet both the short and long-term use of the area. 10, that the developer will install and maintain a staggered 2-row evergreen tree buffer on the west property line. The trees will be a minimum of 6 feet in height at the time of planting, with 10-foot stagger and 15-foot spacing. The trees must be installed as part of the initial improvements of the subdivision and planted in their entirety before the issuance of the first occupancy permit. An alternate planting buffer could be proposed and installed if approved by the county. F, that the approval of this amendment will not significantly impact the adjacent properties over and above that which already exists in the area from current commercial and industrial uses or potential future uses, as long as the buffering system is installed and maintained. Decision. Based upon the above facts, it is the decision of the Bonneville County Commissioners that the request for amendment from RA1 to INM1 be approved, provided that the limitations and restrictions are listed above are complied with. Any questions?
Okay, I've got some questions on this one. Why was the condition to disallow an asphalt batch plant originally in the Eagle one? Yeah.
Because there is a gravel pit that is adjacent to this property.
Okay.
And it was also put in the finding about, it's kind of an entryway into the city,
Right.
into the community, and so they didn't really want an asphalt patch plant to potentially locate on the larger parcel that's next to this.
Okay. And then the other question I had, it seemed like, are we a little redundant with number 2 and number 10? I mean, why is that buffering? Is that just typical? Was that in your comments, Lance? I guess it seemed like that was more buffering than I've seen required in others that we've done.
So that was things that I've seen before, and I was trying to address, there is already buffering that was done when the subdivision was platted in Mr. Egan rezoned earlier, so there are trees out there already. Just trying to potential if there is a need if it's ever converted to an industrial use there. So there is buffering in there a couple of times, but
Couldn't that be addressed at the time of permitting? You know, to be a little more specific of what goes in there, since we don't know what's going there.
and that's why we have the last note, an alternate planting buffer. It could be proposed and installed with the other county.
That's pretty consistent language with all the other industrial findings.
Is it?
It is,
So the industrial is what's
Yeah.
kind of triggering that.
yes.
Okay.
And
Okay. I just
I think
want to make sure that we're not.
I think we required the buffer behind that property on Landon's Pit, didn't we? At the original time we did that.
It was there. It was in that Egan's free zone that we had, that I took information from to make it consistent.
Okay, well, as long as we're being consistent, it felt like it was quite a bit, but you answered my question with reminding
Well,
me.
I appreciate the clarification on when the improvements will be required. You know, because it's a little awkward to have them do them right now, not knowing when and if that'll go to curb and gutter. But at least have an agreement in place.
Okay, that was all my questions. Have you got any?
No.
Walker? Guess we're ready for a motion then.
I'd motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this is the one. Okay, I guess we're ready for the next one.
This matter comes before the Bonneville County Commissioners as a request to amend the zoning ordinance on a parcel of land from A1 to M1A manufacturing zone. Request is being made by Deborah Moats and Tim Moats. The property is located at 6027 South 15th West, south of 49th South, west of 15th West, and north of 65th South. The Planning and Zoning Board heard this matter on June 22nd, 2022, and recommended approval with the unanimous vote of the rezone request with conditions for buffering. A subsequent hearing was held by the Bonneville County Commissioners on September 8th, 2022, after having reviewed the testimony of the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan. In the reference information submitted, the commissioners made the following findings. Skipping to number 4. Excuse me. That the property is within the area of impact with the City of Idaho Falls in Bonneville County, and the parcel is adjacent across 15th West to the City of Idaho Falls in a small section. Moving to 8, that the property is near or adjacent to other property that is zoned for industrial and manufacturing uses. 9, there is some remaining residentially and agricultural use parcels in the area, which could be impacted by an industrial or manufacturing use. That the parcel is located east of the existing bush ag plant. The adjacent M1A zone property to the south, Schultz rezoned in 2002, as well as the property to the north. There's a parcel in between the two, was also rezoned in 2002 to M1A by D-Town Communications. Were conditioned to require buffering and screening requirements per the rezone. The property is not currently serviced by central water or central sewer. The development would be required to provide a community water system and a sanitary sewer system that complies with health regulations, Title 14. Conclusions. Moving to F. The amendment will be conditioned upon the following facts. F1, our on-site lighting, and then all on-site lighting will be designed so that no direct light will be visible off the property. 2, development to be designed so that buffering system be incorporated to limit the impact of noise off-site and provide a visual buffer for the area uses as well as the adjacent road system, specifically the area to the north and east along the Butte Arm Canal. 3, that the developer will provide an appropriate on-site landscaping plan that will blend into the area. 4, that street lighting will be provided. 5, that adequate paving will be installed to meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance. 6, that a community water system be built adequate to provide for the commercial potable water uses in the development. 7, that fire hydrants be installed to meet firefighting needs. 8, that a sewer plan be submitted that will meet both the short and long-term use of the area and comply with health regulations. 9, that the developer shall file and get approved a subdivision plat for the site. 10, that 15th West is an arterial road, and arterial road improvements include curb, gutter, and sidewalk will be required, or at least an agreement in place to pay the frontage costs of improvements at the time of the roadway being improved. 11, that the developer will install and maintain a staggered 2-row evergreen buffer on the west property line along the arterial road frontage, as well as a visual screening and noise along the north property line and east property line where it's adjacent to the A1 zoned properties. The tree, and then it goes into the specifics about the trees and their planting along with an alternate planting buffer could be proposed and installed if approved by the county. Moving to H, that the approval of this amendment will not significantly impact the adjacent properties over and above that which already exists in the area from current commercial and industrial uses or potential future uses, that the development of the landscaping buffer will actually help reduce existing impacts. And then J, that is language that's been adapted for this finding from previous findings that we had dealing with the area of impact in the city of Idaho Falls. And there are comments wanting the ability to go through their application process, but in go to the board that has been different from what it has been in the past. So it is addressing that. And then the decision, based upon the above facts, it is the decision of the Bonneville County Commissioners that the request for amendment from A1 to M1A be approved, provided that the limitations and restrictions as listed above are complied with. Any comments?
So the wording about the City of Idaho Falls annexation, you said that's typical wording that you've used in other findings.
Yes,
So,
it was used in the Jared Taylor finding
okay,
that we had a few years ago.
a few years ago. So the commission feels that because of this change in the City of Idaho Falls process, that has placed an undue burden on county property owners. What change was that then?
So in the past, they had like a 2-week time frame to review, to say, is this a legitimate and appropriate use of property to be annexed at this time? Should it go through the annexation now? And they have changed their process, that they want them to make a formal application, go through the public hearing process to annex, which takes months, and there is a cost associated with that. So,
It's different than what was in the original area of impact agreement between the county and City of Idaho Falls, and the city's basically changed it without ever discussing anything with the county or having an agreement between the two boards.
formal.
And this,
Go
we
ahead,
had,
Roger.
we had kind of hoped that City of Idaho Falls would address that. Can't remember if you were here, Commissioner Reed, when we did the Taylor, you were at least on the planning and zoning. But that was a concern there, that they couldn't ever get an answer, and it had drug on for months and months. So it's really not fair to the developer not to be able to get an answer. And by the time you go through clear to the city council, because I think they require a time of annexation, don't they require some fees or something paid, Austin?
Yeah, you have to pay all the application fees and everything and go through the whole process, so.
It just creates a too big a burden, and I think Austin's meeting with Brad here in the next few days, and maybe re-emphasize that's one of the things we'd like to keep reviewing as we go through and see whether we can update our area of impact, is to get a defined process. You know, it's real hard for the county developer to walk in there not knowing what the requirements are. And it's just kind of vague, and it seems like they change depending on situation. So it should be fairly simple for them to say, here's what it costs, here's what it's going to cost you to run the sewer, the water, everything out there. And determine whether it's feasible to annex or not.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I'd make a motion that we approve this findings of fact for the notes change.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I was going to say it's already unanimous.
It sounded like it.
And thanks, Michelle and Austin, because I think you worked real hard to get some language that kind of spells out what our expectations are in some of these areas.
Yeah, you're really doing well writing these.
That is the goal.
Okay, should we go back? You guys can take care of it. Yeah, well, yeah, get him to Kayla. He's done. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to Road and Bridge then.
Okay, there's a letter of conditional acceptance for Hatch Hollow number 2, and also a letter of conditional acceptance for Double L Enterprises Division number 1. Both of them have been inspected by John Tullis and look to be meeting the county standards.
Okay. I don't see a signature line for commissioners on here.
Usually you just initial those.
Okay.
I think the absence of my initials will show that I wasn't in favor of it, so.
We'll go ahead and stamp it.
You can if you want, but it makes it pretty busy. So you two just initial it.
Okay. All right, we'll do.
Okay. The next thing is agreement for professional services for an on-call contract with Keller Engineering. We've been doing this every year. It's got a $15,000 limit. Last year, we spent about a third of that on all services.
Everyone in favor to approve that?
Uh-huh.
Yes. It requires the chairman. You want us to stamp it, Roger?
Yeah, go ahead.
Next, I have a right-of-way contract for 45th East, just a single one this time. It's for parcel 194 for $166,429.
Wow.
And those right of ways are more expensive than they used to be.
Yes, they are. The unit price per square foot is significantly went up in the last couple of years.
How many more have we got to get out there?
I think we've got 5 or 6 left.
So we should be within the time frame to get a lot of that done.
We should be in the time frame. We're hoping to go out to bid the first week of November and get all of that wrapped up kind of the week before Thanksgiving. That's what the schedule is right now. So hopefully we'll have most of this done by then. If we have 1 or 2 outstanding, it probably won't be a terrible thing.
We're keeping you busy signing.
Taking a lot of energy.
The next item I want to talk about is the landfill lease with Rhodes. The letter that was delivered to their attorney has gone unresponded to. I don't know if you've heard anything, but at Road and Bridge office, we have not heard anything at all.
I think we better send them a notice to terminate so he doesn't plant anything and come after damages. But double check with Scott.
Okay, I will double check.
Is there any concern that if we don't get another tenant on there, we'll have weeds? I mean, the county's gonna have some cost in keeping weed control down on the property.
Right, and I think with the tractors and stuff, don't they have a duck foot weeder that they could, said they could go over with a couple times a year, just keep the weeds down?
We have they've been struggling to get it operating, but we're supposed to have a tractor and a batwing mower that we can mow.
How many acres is it?
It's about 125 acres.
It's not that much. I mean, we could even put an application of Roundup on it, hire somebody to spray it. It wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, the preference would still be to have him farm it, but you know, if he's not going to cooperate and pay the back rent, I don't know how we can reasonably let him do that.
Right.
Okay, I'll double check with Scott and we'll work on that later. I have a couple sets of plans here that are nearly ready. One is for the Ammon Road widening from Lincoln Road up to Highway 26. And so it stays all within the right of way. There's a bit on either section and kind of jumps back and forth. We tried to keep it as minimal as possible with no right of way acquisition. So that plan set is essentially done. They're working on the specifications for it right now. Didn't know if you wanted just to kind of put it on the shelf for now and take a look at it when we have some more time or what?
As soon as we get the budgets closed, and I'm hoping we can do that pretty quick, we've got to sit down with Penny and come up with where we're going to allocate the different projects that we're going to use our reserves for.
How long would it take to go to bid with it? I mean,
So
we need the specifications first.
we need the specifications first, but if we decide to move forward with it, we could probably go out early spring or even January, February or something like that and go out and decide if we want to actually do it. The other set of plans is for the 25th East and 49th North intersection. That would be a span wire signal intersection. And so that one may take a little longer to get closed. We're about 90%. It does stay within the right of way, but it is really tight. And again, if you want to look at the plans and see what we want to do, they're at about 90%. We don't have the specification for that either, so.
I think the Ammon project, our goal would be to go out to bid with that by January so that we would have a good idea before spring. But as the chairman said, we need to make sure we've got all the finances in place. Is that correct, Roger? Do you agree?
Yeah, I got interrupted briefly. Which project was the second one?
The second is the intersection of 25th East and 49th North. Right now, it's a four-way stop control intersection.
Correct.
And it would go to a span wire signal.
Okay. Yeah. I think let's get together. Let's see, what is this? The October 5th. Hopefully they've got those books closed out and, in the next couple of weeks, and we can sit down and go through that with them.
Okay. And I'll keep pressing them to get the specifications, but they should be pretty darn close.
Now, the specifications will give us a pretty good estimate on what the cost is going to be.
So I've asked for a cost estimate as well. The specifications just tell the contractors the details about what kind of asphalt, what kind of gradation of gravel and everything else.
Well, I think we're as interested in anything as the cost estimates.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't have those quite yet, so. But I'll get those and bring them back then. ITD has come back with, they want you to take a look at this agreement to take over the current Highway 26 from the city limits out to Beach's Corner. You looked at it once, Scott looked at it, we went back and there was a couple revisions. The one revision was making sure that the relinquishment process of ITD is followed. And the other was making sure that it was taken off of the highway, the federal highway, national highway standards and change that designation. And so ITD has, I've asked them a couple of questions about removing it off of the national highway system, making sure that we don't have a problem later on if we go to apply for money on that. And they're going to get back to me, but they do want to have the commissioners look at this agreement. And the ITD board wants the commissioners to have a public hearing on this issue if you decide to go ahead and do it. So just giving you a heads up, it'll probably be coming, they're hoping maybe in November, December to have, if you're agreeable to this, to have a public hearing. And they're supposed to get back with me about what the public hearing process is to follow, if we have to follow the ITD's public hearing, or if we can just do a normal Bonneville County public hearing process. So it sounds like the ITD public hearing process needs a hearing officer and stenographer and all sorts of other things. So hopefully we don't have to do that.
And this is for us to take over the highway between Beaches Corner and Yukon?
No, this is for us to take over between Beaches Corner and Woodruff, essentially, the current existing Highway 26. After they build this interchange or the connector from US 20 to US 26 along approximately the 49th North corridor.
And that was the exchange.
That would be an exchange, yeah. Yeah, they would build this connector, and in exchange, they would take that over as a state highway. And then we would take over the current.
I don't know why we would be required to follow state requirements for the hearing. That should be a Monroe County thing, shouldn't it?
I think it was when we did Sunnyside that way and took over from there by Dad's truck stop. We took that section of the highway and exchanged it for what the state was going to build on the extension of Sunnyside from Yellowstone to the freeway. But somebody there may remember that process, but that's what it seems like it was. That was quite some time ago.
So I'll get back, and it's kind of one of those requests to the ITD board to have a public hearing, and if they allow us to do our version of the public hearing versus theirs. So I'll let you know hopefully soon.
If they come back requesting that we follow theirs, then maybe we'll run through Scott, see what we're required to do.
Okay, well, and I asked them if they're gonna require that. I need a step-by-step process to make sure. There's a lot of steps involved in that, and it's like, I don't know the process, so.
That's why theirs takes so long.
Right.
Hopefully nobody shows up because
Yeah.
they're confused.
So the next thing is, the City of Ammon wrote that email to us about cost sharing on Ammon Road. Tracy has not got back with me about a cost estimate or anything further. I don't know that we have a lot to discuss about that, but it was on the agenda, so I don't know if you've had any more thoughts about what sort of participation the county could go in on the south of Sunnyside on Ammon Road or not, so.
I don't know if I want to spend the time thinking about it until we know what they're proposing.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I wanted to approach it, but I was hoping that Tracy would have something to me about what it is they're looking to do, and I just haven't had anything yet. So,
Okay.
one more issue that I probably want to talk about off of not being recorded. So it's an employee issue, so.
Have to do that. Yeah,
We need to
go
do
to executive session, so
I'd make a motion that we go to executive session for code 74-206B.
I'd second that.
All in favor, it requires a roll call vote.
Right.
Roger.
aye.
Commissioner, and I vote aye. So we'll go into executive session. We'll have to ask you to leave, I'm afraid, yeah.
I'll be right back too.
Did you have an issue you needed to take care of?
I had some questions,
So,
do you want to do that? before
yeah,
we go into
yeah,
executive
let's go ahead.
session?
We have a motion to go into executive session. We will do that as soon as we hear from the public that's here. Sorry I didn't recognize you before we went to that.
I didn't know if you're just here for your acceptance or.
Well,
But that's what I assumed, yeah.
I know that as far as going to bridge, they already accepted that, but with planning and zoning,
wanted to talk to you guys about the trees that we've got out there. There's 300 trees out there on a berm. We planted them kind of late in the spring, where it got really, really hot after that. Some of them didn't make it. A lot of them have made it, but a lot of them already lost their leaves, so we don't know which ones are dead, which ones are gonna make it. We have 75 replacement trees on order, but they won't be here until spring, can't plant until spring. So I just asked the board for a temporary permit until we can replant, until we can plant the trees that we know have died.
So that was required for the permit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it requires the tree buffer to be planted along the east side. And I know you had planted those smaller ones to begin with in the back, and they were all living. Just when I went out there yesterday, I couldn't see hardly any of them. Because of some of it, there's weeds growing over top of them, and some of it just, I didn't know if they were alive or not, like you said. They're just.
So some of them still have green leaves. Yeah, they look like they're dead, but some of them, I don't know what's gonna come back in the spring. I don't know which ones are gonna actually, in the springtime, are gonna come back and which ones are not. But we have 75 on order, but they don't come until the spring, because they're bare wet tree. So I'm just asking for if there's any kind of a way we could have a temporary permit until we could replant the trees in the spring. Ones that were dead, ones that show
They don't come back.
yeah, ones that don't come back. Now we planted all the trees along 49th North now. We got that purple, that looks nice. So.
We can probably work something out.
And the roads
That's what I was waiting for.
yeah. And the road has been accepted by Road and Bridge and everything else, so it's just a matter of, the trees, really, more or less.
When we do those trees like that, I mean, do we check them again in 2 or 3 years to make sure that they?
We should more frequently. We haven't very consistently in the past.
I know across the street, we were all dead.
Yeah. It's always been a tough thing. We need to come up with a
But
better way to
Because
track
that's the
them.
problem, yeah, if they're not kept watered and their weeds grow around, they're gonna die.
Yeah, because it seems like we had an issue on the pit there on Hit Road with the trees being planted later and then they died, and it was kind of a struggle to get those in there. So I hope we'll do better this time.
oh yeah. Well, we had those ones that we had on our old pit they got sprayed. We went to kill the weeds and they sprayed the trees and killed them. But we replanted those trees.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder, I think we can figure something out on the use permit to just basically say, if the trees aren't planted by this date in the spring, then the permit will be revoked or something like that.
That would be.
We can work something out like that, but to that point, I think on those use permits, we should probably put something that they're checked yearly or something like that to make sure they're still alive, or else those conditions that we're using to buffer the adjacent properties really aren't doing much good, right?
At least 2 or 3 years until they're established, until they have good roots.
Plenty of fence, we have a 1,500 gallon tank and a 1,000 gallon water tank on the site with pump. So they are getting water.
And I've seen all your irrigation too.
Yes, so we have to all irrigations.
No, we can work something out. When we're done with this, I'll go back and work something out with Michelle